Dr. Omkar.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, sir. Can you hear us okay, sir?
Sir?
Can you hear us?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
Hello everyone. I'm Anvesh Kadami from MOOC India Technology Center. I'm the master of ceremony for today's curtain raiser event, Aero Standards 2021 and AeroCON 2022. To start the meeting, first and foremost, I would like to state the vision and mission statements of SAE India. We are the most preferred technical body for the knowledge dissemination and skill development of mobility professionals, students, and faculty. We are the trusted think tank advising policymakers on mobility related matters. Ladies and gentlemen, professional members, and dear students, we welcome you all to this curtain raiser event for the Aero Standards 2021 and AeroCON 2022. Thank you all for joining us today. In this session, we have a group of interesting and important topics in the field that we really love. I hope you all are excited for today's session, a value-added session for understanding the advancements and the growth which is going on in the aerospace sector. Before sharing the agenda, I would like to request all the speakers to keep their phones on silent when they're giving the speech. We have two sessions today. The first session, we have Ravi Shankar, Chairman of Aerospace Forum, who will be addressing the session the first 15 minutes. Next, we have our keynote speaker, Dr. Omkar, Chief Scientist from IISc Bangalore, who is going to present about the standardization of UAS systems. Then we have Dr. Ravi Kumar, Head Advanced Engineering Group Infosys, who will be giving us an overview about Aero Standards workshop. Post that break, we have session 2. During the session 2, we have Dr. Parimal Kopedar, Director of NASA Advanced Research Institute, NARI, who is going to brief us about advanced air mobility and supply chain. Post Dr. Parimal's speech, we have Dr. Ramakrishna Raman, Principal Systems Engineer from Honeywell, who is going to give us an overview of AeroCON 2022. In the end, we have vote of thanks from Krupal, Engineering Leader from Boeing. This is the agenda for today's event. During the end of each speech, we have 5 minutes for questions and answers, and questions to be posted in the chat box area. So are you all excited for the session to begin?
Yeah,
Great. Now I would like to introduce Ravi Shankar Mysore. Ravi Shankar Mysore is the chair of SAE Aerospace Forum since February 2021. He has been associated with SAE since 2016. He has over 32 years of industrial experience and retired as the Vice President of Engineering at Global Engineering and Technology Center, Collins Aerospace. Ravi has a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering from NIT Surathkal and a master's degree from mechanical engineering from IISc Bangalore. He was one of the founding members of NASSCOM Engineering Service Forum and served on the forum from 2005 to 2007. Now, I would like to welcome Ravi Shankar to address today's event. Over to you, Ravi Shankar.
Thank you, Anvesh. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, audio check is confirmed.
Sure. Thank you. So do you mind going back to the previous slide itself, the welcome slide? I won't be using any slides. Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Thank you for the kind introduction, Anvesh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure many of you have been associated with SAE India or have heard about SAE India. SAE India is a technical society which is closely associated with SAE International and serves the mobility industry with a strong presence in automotive, aerospace, and off-highway sectors. We have over 3,300 professionals from 150 industries, 50,000 students, and 1,500 faculty members from 486 collegiate clubs as members of SAE India. With a view to provide strong focus to different industry segments, industry-specific forums have been established under SAE India. We have aerospace, automotive, and off-highway forums working closely with all the regional sections of SAE India. SAE India Aerospace Forum was established in 2009 and has been conducting seminars, conferences, workshops, professional development programs for professionals and students with a focus on aerospace. We recently concluded AeroCON 2021, a virtual aerospace design contest for students. We had over 350 students from over 50 colleges participating in this event from across India. We're now launching two major events with a focus on professionals and academia. As you're all aware, we have a large community of large community of aerospace professionals in India, with the significant growth of engineering and technology centers of global companies such as Boeing, Airbus, GE, Honeywell, Collins Aerospace, Thales, Moog, Safran, Bombardier, Rolls-Royce, and engineering service providers such as TCS, Infosys, HCL, Quest, Cyient, L&T, Tech Mahindra, and large presence of Indian aerospace design, development, research, and manufacturing organizations such as HAL, NAL, ADA, DRDO, etc. In addition, there are a number of engineering colleges offering aerospace programs. Also, we have premier research institutes like Indian Institute of Science and the IITs offering postgraduate and PhD programs in aerospace. This growing aerospace community calls for events focused on professionals and academia. With this in view, we are now planning to launch two events. The first event to be held in September this year is a workshop on aerospace standards in collaboration with SAE International. SAE has one of the largest collection of standards for aerospace and is widely used across the industry. And this workshop aims to create awareness on global aerospace standardization activities of SAE International, SAE ITC, and ANSI. This workshop will also provide an opportunity for Indian aerospace professionals to integrate and connect with global aerospace community through aerospace standards committees. The second event is a biennial international conference, AeroCON 2022. This is being held after a successful international conference that was conducted by SAE India in 2020. The event is supported by SAE International and will be held in June 2022. AeroCON 2022 will provide the much needed platform in India for industry practitioners, academicians, researchers, and students to actively exchange ideas, information, and opinions, share their research findings and experiences in aerospace engineering. It is my privilege and honor to welcome all of you for this Curtain Raiser program to launch these two events. We have two eminent speakers on this occasion, Dr. Omkar, Chief Research Scientist, Department of Aerospace Engineering, Indian Institute of Science, and Dr. Parimal Kopardekar, Director of NASA Aeronautics Research Institutes. On behalf of SA India and all of you, I extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Omkar and Dr. Parimal. It is indeed very heartening to note that we are conducting these events in the 25th year of successful operation of SA India. I hope all of you will benefit significantly from these events and wish you a warm welcome once again. Thank you very much. Over to you, Anvesh. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi Shankar, for addressing today's event. And I hope everyone are really grateful for the SAE for taking so much technology advancement and also ensuring that the journey is going for good for the students as well as the different industries across. Okay. Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Omkar, the Chief Research Scientist from IISc Bangalore. Dr. Omkar serves as its Chief Research Scientist at the Department of Aerospace Engineering at IISc. His research interests include uninhabitable air vehicles, autonomous navigation of UAS, helicopter dynamics, satellite image processing, yoga, and biomechanics. Omkar heads UAV Lab, Computational Intelligence Lab, Yoga and Biomechanics Lab. He has published more than 140 articles in leading international technical journals. He is also a convener for TED 14:1 subcommittee on the standardization of the drones in India under Bureau of Indian Standards. Dr. Omkar was also a panelist and a coordinator at the Vaibhav Summit, Global Summit of Overseas and Resident Indian Scientists and Academicians. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Omkar for his keynote address. Over to you, Dr. Omkar.
Thank you. Namaste to all the dignitaries and all the participants. I'll be talking about, in fact, when they asked me to give the topic, I said, okay, let's speak on UAV standards itself. But anyway, I've spoken quite a lot on these UAV standards in many forums, and also just a couple of days we had one 2-day webinar where at length we had discussions. Then I went through the scope of the workshop and conference being conducted under the aegis of SAE India Aerospace. Then I thought I will add a bit more on what is really the need of the hour. So I slightly tuned my talk towards that. Well, we have seen the revolutions, industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. We have now reached 4.0, where there is a lot of thrust on cyber physical systems, or what you call as Internet of Things, in which UAS or uninhabited aerial systems have become an integral part of the whole thing. So we have to really now stay ahead in this industrial revolution of 4.0. If we have to stay ahead, we have to see that we are competitive internationally. Also, it should be very helpful to the Indian industry. So the only way is that we should have some good standards. In fact, for the lack of standards, a lot of things have been lost. The country lost the race in the medical devices simply because we failed to standardize. So now that should not happen again. So that's why standing on good standards is really, really important. You can see the growth in the Internet of Things. There is a exponential rise in the devices that are getting connected. The estimate is that about 50 billion right as of now connected devices. When you have these kind of connected devices, it simply means that the connectivity, both hardware, software, etc., should all follow some standards. Otherwise, the whole approach may actually fail, or they may become futile, or we become incompetent in the face of competitions internationally. Therefore, it is very important for us to be more responsive in setting up good standards. One of the successes as we see today is already this home automation. We have a lot of things being connected from home environment to wherever remote environment. You can monitor your homes. I don't need to explain. All these devices can be connected, but the connectivity, yes, that's where the crux of the thing lies. So it cannot be just depending upon one type of supplier. It must be made ubiquitous. Any of the components to be replaced, added, etc. Towards this, it is very essential that you follow some good standards, not only the hardware side, but also the software side, because in all this, the analytics play a major role. And analytics keep changing, the demands of the customers keep changing, and if you want to be meeting their demands, your software should also follow certain standards. So standards, they pervade all areas, be it manufacturing, processing, coding, etc. Therefore, standing on standards is the solution for the modern day. Just for the sake of clarity, all of you know, standard is the document which define characteristics of a product, process, or service, such as dimensions, safety aspects, performance requirements, etc. Then code is the laws or regulations that specifies a minimum standards. Then you have specifications, a set of conditions and requirements. Then you have regulation, a mandatory government requirement that defines the characteristics and or performance requirements of a product. And we all understand that regulations one has to follow. It is mandatory, whereas standards are optional. This is the important thing. Even in UAVs, for which I happen to be the convener from the Bureau of Indian Standards, we are aware that the DGCA makes regulations while Bureau of Indian Standards has to make standards. While the DGCA regulations are mandatory, nobody can violate that, whereas standards are really optional. But adhering to standards is very, very important. It does have some pitfalls, but with judicious approach, one can overcome the disadvantages of standards. So in general, we can say standard is a widely agreed way of doing something. It can be anything. These standards will offer you safety and reliability because these two are coupled. It has to be reliable and safe. And then even for the government policies, even when they call for tenders or any of the government works, the compliance to all these standards will make their decisions very easy and of course legal. Then interoperability is one of the biggest thing that comes out of standards. One of the greatest example is our QWERTY keyboard. That is one of the greatest thing. Then the benefits, of course, are the cost and cost benefits. With more quantity, the cost will come down provided you stick to some standards because of the sheer volume. Then across the countries, you can spread your business. There is opportunity if there are standards. If there are no standards, it would be very, very difficult. And well, some people do complain that by adhering to some standards, you may really kill the innovative skills, but it is not necessarily so. If there is something completely out of box approach, which is welcome, standards do not kill such things, but still adhering to standards, what advantage it adds even to out of box thinking? That is what we have to see, because one may come out with a big innovation, but if that innovation has to have a market penetration, that coming in the framework of standards is very, very, very important. Else, it will be very difficult. Ideas will remain as ideas, patents will remain as patents on the paper, and they don't get translated to actual practice. And finally, we all understand that customer is the king, and the standardization offers great flexibility to the consumer. Therefore, standardizations have to be honored. Well, if there is no standardization, well, there is obviously compatibility issues will come. You have to be, very, very meticulous when choosing things because you don't know whether they are compatible or not. Then they can be dangerous. Then you become all alone. In the sense, you have to do everything for yourself. So you cannot, if you want to get some subsystem from somewhere and you want to work on some other subsystems, that flexibility you lose because you don't adhere to a standard. Then monopoly, you really swallow your customers. That is the danger. Then even process. We don't mean just the product, even the process, if it is not actually standardized, you can see the teamwork cartoon, that is what would happen. So some examples I thought I will flash. This is not something from the recent history. This is more than a century old, the Great Baltimore Fire. The fire broke out 1904 February, and 1,500 buildings were completely leveled, and more than 1,000 were severely damaged, and about 140 acres. It was completely devastated. Help did come. A lot of firefighters, those days, most of them horse wagons, they did come. From all around they came. But it took more than 30 hours to quench the fire. Why? Because the you can see these hose couplings and the fire hydrants. There was a big mismatch. All the people who came, they had a different kind of hose couplings, while the fire hydrants that was there in Baltimore did not match any of them. Although so many help came, they could not actually help because these two were not compatible at all. Then you can see the another big example. Well, how standards help. This is one of the classical example often quoted in the welding scenario, and one of the specs said that weld spatter, slivers, inclusions, mill scale, etc. And similar surface defects or irregularities shall be removed. While they also said that the weld standards have to be maintained. But welding standards AWS D11 stated that some of these kind of spatter can be allowed. So what should the contractor do to remove? Should he remove all welding defects, or some defects are acceptable? The two statements become conflicting. In fact, this gives a big lesson that had you simply said adhere to this standard, that would have solved all the problem. No ambiguity will be there. This is another important message of standardization. Then we all know the big case of Ford Pinto, 1971. Had a rare fuel tank which was in some funny position, and it got into a lot of accidents. Only reason why they designed this Pinto was to make it a economy class vehicle. They sold many. They knew that the defects were there, but they refused to correct the defect. Several models were released. In fact, big magazines of those time, Mother Jones, write that are you driving the deadliest car in America? Because a lot of fire accidents with this car were reported. But the company had it stuck to good design standards, it would not have happened. Well, to cut this story short, they refused to make corrections with the idea that if we invest on making the correction, the money spent is more. Instead, anyone who has an accident with this car, we can compensate them outside the court. That is much cheaper. But that is a very poor thinking. And of course, the then CEO lost his position because of that. But this is another thing that ethics, they can be adhered to if you follow that. Then the 1981 Hayat walkway collapse, perhaps we all know in the Kansas City, that this is again building standards they did not follow properly. They built two skywalks which were not properly supported, and it fell, and more than 1,000 people died. Then this is another classical example, Sony Betamax versus the VHS. This battle started in 1970s, went all the way to 80s, Well, people say that Sony Betamax quality wise was actually better than the VHS, but VHS adhered to the standards prevailing, which means it could get into multiple devices, whereas Betamax did not listen to the market. It had its own format, and this is what it led to their ultimate demise. So what this says is that you must have good standards so that you become compatible with the society. This is very important. I found this cartoon very interesting because nowadays, at least as we know, in most of the engineering colleges, this topic of standardization is not taught, or if I may be a little rash, not even known for the students. So this is something very, very annoying. And most of these education systems, what we see today is that there is a syllabus. If it is a 4-year course, first year you study some physics, chemistry, maths, some subjects like this. Then second year you do some basics of maybe mechanical, electrical, depending upon what you are. Third year there is some study. Fourth year there are 2-3 subjects plus some project. That is when they really do some so-called engineering project. So this is a very funny thing because it will kill their creativity, discipline, and intelligence also, because they're all typecast into what we call as syllabus and exam. That's why this cartoon indicates when they get into this education system, they are at a higher level of creativity, discipline, and intelligence. And in the process, there is a lot of leakage of creativity, discipline, and intelligence, and they come out as engineers. So this is where I think SA India, they should play a vital role. How do we rekindle this creativity in these youth? This is where good conferences, workshops, and competitions play a vital role. I think we should come out of that. Even when we talk about, for example, design of aerospace things, we should really simply not just adhere to the same old Raymer textbook kind of format, because today there are softwares available. You simply give some specs, it will give you the design. So it will not bring out the creativity in a person. So it's very important, while we talk of standards, we are also aware that we should encourage creativity and out-of-box thinking. I'll just give you one example. I just remember now. This happened at the Wellinkar Management Institute in Bombay. They had out-of-box thinking. In Mahindra and Mahindra company, there were 2 people, Prathamesh and Jitu, who were serving coffee. They were, what you call as P1s or service providers. So they were serving coffee. That was their job. The Wellington Institute decided to take them into their MBA program. And there were already some 14 students in that batch. And these 2 were taken in. And the management said that the 14 people who were selected on merit are to mentor these 2 students. And it went on so well that Prathamesh and Jitu stood 11th and 13th position, which means they also beat some of their mentors in the ranking. And finally, they got into ICICI Bank. They worked there, and on one of the loan requirements from Mahindra and Mahindra, they had to go and meet the chairman Anand Mahindra. And I will end this story with the statement: these 2, Prathamesh and Jitu, who were serving coffee to Anand Mahindra, came to the position of having coffee with the chairman Anand Mahindra. Then they supported a lot of other poor students. There's a different story. But what I'm saying is some sort of this kind of out of box thinking, creativity has to be inculcated. One of the biggest example, we all know what this web-based standardization from the ETSI has done. Europe, well, US almost lost because they had several companies, each company is sticking on to one standard. And the ETSI did a great job where they brought standards, and today we are all reaping the benefits. Any mobile you can use anywhere. And innovation is not killed because Apple is different, Samsung is different, something else is different. So this is what we need to see. Even in the US, that is the uninhabited aerial systems, standardization is very, very essential. But here it is a multi-dimensional standardization that we need to look at. Today, UAVs have become ubiquitous, which means their applications are growing multifolds. It is being used parcel delivery, carrying vaccines, organ transportation, even air ambulance. People are talking about. It will come into force maybe in a decade or so, but we must become ready with that. Then processing, the manufacturing, the assembling, then the connectivity issues, because there is drone to drone communication, because people are talking about cooperative missions, then drone to ground control station communication, etc. Now, how do we standardize all these communications? And also, we should remember that drones are not operated in the sky in isolation. They have to be integrated with the air traffic, that is the civilian and military air traffic that is already there. So it is another serious issue. To that, the ATM, air traffic management, with that we should integrate this UAV traffic management or the UTM. So you need strict standards. Then we have our own NAVIC, the constellation, the GPS equivalent from our country. We need to integrate that into all these systems, because that is, we have to move towards, as our honorable PM says, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So this is one of the great occasion. Then things have to be addressed to look at the insurance associated with the drones. What would really happen in case of any damage, how it is done. Then, of course, the cyber security is another very big topic. And thankfully, we have several eminent people in our committee on the UAV standardization in the country. Many academicians, industrialists, entrepreneurs are there. We have been able to now come out with version 1.0 of these UAV standards. Incidentally, the version on the agricultural drones is already submitted to the government of India from our committee. So this is a long process which we have done, and of course, way ahead. What should we do? One is, of course, training is very important at all levels, at the industry level, at the engineering level, especially for the students. We need to encourage them to learn the skills and in the framework of the standards, very important. And then the good simulation environment has to be developed, because when we talk about testing and certification of even UAVs, you cannot be doing it every time, and any failure would cost a lot for the company. The whole design has to be revisited, and if the product fails, there is a lot of penalty in terms of the economics for the company. Therefore, can we have a reliable simulator? Today, it is possible, thankfully, because of the concept of what we call as the digital twins. I'm sure in aerospace, even in medicine, it has come out in a big way. I think this is where we need to focus. I'm sure the SAE has a lot of companies who can really look at these aspects of digital twins. And if we can implement this in the process. This would really ease the process of testing and certification. So it has come in a big way. This refers to the computerized companions of physical assets that can be used for various purposes. I'll not spend much time on these things, but I'd like to say, for example, in the medical field, people are talking about a body on chip. That is nothing but the digital twin um, um, or the digital shadow. There are models available today for the liver, uh, and people are also working on lungs, etc. So it is a very interesting area which needs a lot of things. It is not just the uh, a physical translation. It also has a lot of processes involved in it, and all these things should be linked. So a lot of data it needs. So we can generate the data. Thankfully, there are a lot of algorithms in the machine learning and the deep learning architectures. And the whole important thing with that is that with experience, as we keep using them, they improve in their performance. Therefore, this is something that we need to look at. And in our, I think in the competition that you conduct, some element of these things should be pushed so that people can go to the next leap in technology called this digital twins. Well, I think I'm running out of time. So digital twin has a lot of advantage, especially when you have multiple connectivities like the Internet of Things. I think this is a must. It helps you doing lot of optimization built into it, and it saves a lot of time in terms of doing some experiments or repetitive studies on actual model itself. So it improves the quality and yield, increases efficiency, reduce cycle time and boost productivity. You can diagnose and fix failures. You can optimize robotic operation management, then reduce operational costs. So these are multiple benefits of these digital twins. So there is already a big work from GE on the aircraft engines. So I don't think it is something too futuristic. It is already happening. Then, of course, this has a multiplicity effect. You need to look at the devices, connectivity, the heterogeneous platforms, varieties of applications, analytics, databases, network, security, devices, everything. So when we say this, databases becomes important because most of these things can derive a lot of knowledge from the already existing data. So when we talk about data, we cannot but avoid the concept of big data that has to be there. So you should look at the volume, the velocity, variety, and veracity. These are the components. How to handle all these things in the framework of the big data, this must also be considered. So if we do all these things, then I'm sure all these things, of course, under the framework of standards, we can really take on this industry 4.0 to a higher level in the country. This means, yes, multiple challenges. You have to balance a lot of these things. And this is the threat people always say when they talk of standards. And one of the studies shows that in information technology, equipments have the standards requirements, the certificate requirements have increased sixfold over the past 10 years. So this would be detrimental for small and medium-sized business because so many times how can they keep changing their products or the specifications? This is one of the complaints that people come out, but with judicious thinking on the part of the standard making bodies, these things can be greatly minimized and they can also be helped. So we should really consider all these things while making standards. Then it is possible to have a holistic, safe growth. So this is what I had to share with you. Jai Bharat. This is what I had to share with you. I thank the SAE India Aero division for giving me this opportunity to share few of my thoughts. Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Omkar. That was a great insight that you have given to us. I think people would have enjoyed how the IoT is getting connected to the real world and how the twin is mapped. And that is very unique. And thank you for bringing us the concept. And
Thank
also,
you.
we are very thankful that you have explained us with the real life practical problems that we are facing and how the standardization can be improved so that we are ready and gearing up for the next 4.0 and the coming future ahead. I personally really enjoyed the motivation small story as well. I'm glad that I'm part of today's session.
Thank
And
you.
a big round of applause to Dr. Omkar, guys, everyone.
Thank you.
Now I would like to introduce Dr. Ravi Kumar. Dr. Ravi Kumar is Associate Vice President and Head of Advanced Engineering Group, AEG Engineering Services, Infosys. He has led many innovation and applied research projects over the past 25 years. He's also involved in various initiatives of World Economic Forum. He's a member of the HM1 and G31 Technical Committee and chair of G31 Technical Committee of the SAE International, where he has contributed to aerospace standards and development. Dr. Ravi Kumar has published over 50 technical papers and 4 patents. He has won many awards, including James Crawford Executive Standard Committee, Outstanding Achievement Award from SAE International, and the Corporate Excellence Award from the American Society of Engineers of Indian origin. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Ravi Kumar. Over to you, Dr. Ravi Kumar.
Good evening. It is a pleasure and honor to interact with you today. I'm Ravi Kumar, currently head the Advanced Engineering Group at Infosys and chair the G31 Electronic Transactions for Aerospace Technical Committee of SAE International. I'm going to walk you through the Aero Standards 2021 program. Aero Standards is an international workshop on aerospace standards organized by Aerospace Forum of SAE India in collaboration with SAE International. It is a virtual event to be held for 2 days on September 23rd and 24th. It will be held between 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time and is convenient for many people to attend across the globe. Aerospace industry is one of the most complex industries. It has many stakeholders from OEM to supplier to operator to MRO to regulator to disposer. A typical commercial aircraft is operated for more than 30 years and has most advanced technologies on board. Any technology innovation of today has roots in aerospace. It is difficult to manage such complex ecosystem, making air travel better, cheaper, and safer. One such backbone to manage this complexity is aerospace standards. Aerospace standards ensure smooth interface between stakeholders, standardized parts, processes, and best practices across the globe. SAE International played an important role in standardization through dedicated technical committees developing standards. Many of you might have used standards like AS9100 and ARINC. These standards are developed through consensus by leading aerospace experts across the globe. In view of this, Aerospace Forum of SAE India felt the need to increase awareness of aerospace standards. As a result, we are organizing Aero Standards 2021 workshop. The objectives of Aero Standards workshop are to create awareness on global aerospace standardization activities, to provide opportunity for aerospace professionals on various aerospace standards committees, to help aerospace professionals in their career development, to integrate and connect aerospace professionals with global aerospace community. Let us look at who can attend this program. It is intended for many aerospace professionals, aerospace practitioners, aerospace researchers, academic community, and students at large. This is international workshop. It covers broad range of topics by leading international aerospace experts. These topics include additive manufacturing, aerospace actuation, control and fluid power systems, aerospace couplings, fittings, tubing assemblies, aircraft and systems development and safety assessment, artificial intelligence in aviation, counterfeit electronic parts, cyber physical system security, electronic transactions for aerospace, electrified propulsion, integrated vehicle health management, modeling, simulation and training, polymer matrix composites, standardization of UAV subsystems, unmanned aircraft propulsion. Let me share the schedule of this workshop. As discussed earlier, this workshop will be held in 2 days. Each day we are planning to have the main session initially and 2 parallel sessions covering various technical committees and their activities. The entire agenda is prepared based on the feedback provided by Aerospace Community India. Let me go through the schedule now. Let me share the schedule. As we discussed, Aero Standards 2021 will be held on September 23 and 24th, 2 days. And on the day 1, which is September 23, 2021, we are in the main session, we are going to have inaugural address by Ravi Shankar MR, who is the Chair Aerospace Forum SAE India, followed by keynote address by Dr. Bala Bharadwaj, who is former Managing Director, Boeing India Engineering and Technology Center. He is also honorary member and advisor of SAE India. Followed by, we are going to have a session on overview of SAE International's aerospace standards programs and NatCap programs. This will be delivered by David Alexander, Director, Aerospace Standards, SAE International. Followed by this, we are going to have 2 parallel sessions. In the first parallel session, the first topic will be SAE HM1, Integrated Vehicle Health Management Committee. This will be delivered by Rhonda Walthall, who is the chair of SAE HM1 Committee, fellow of Collins Aerospace. Followed by SAE G31, Electronic Transactions for Aerospace Committee. This will be delivered by me, who is currently chair of G31, Electronic Transactions for Aerospace Committee. I am also Associate Vice President and Head of Advanced Engineering Group at Infosys. Subsequently, we are going to have a presentation from SAE G32, Cyber Physical System Security Committee. This will be done by Chris Sundberg, who is the chair of SAE G32 Technical Committee. He is also Product Cyber Security Engineer at Woodward, Inc. Followed by, we are going to have SAE G34, Artificial Intelligence in Aviation Committee. This will be done by Mark Roboff, Chair, SAE G34 Committee. He is also CEO of Skythread Aero. In the second parallel session of day 1, we are going to have a presentation by SAE E40 Electrified Propulsion Committee. This will be done by Richard Ambrios, who is the chair of SAE E40 and is also head of propulsion at Airbus. Followed by SAE G19 Counterfeit Electronics Parts Committee. This will be delivered by Bill Schofield, who is the chair of SAE G19 Technical Committee. He is also component engineer at Boeing. Followed by SAE A6, Aerospace Actuation Control Fluid Power Systems. This will be done by Ian Halley, chair of SAE A6, who is also technical fellow of Boeing. Subsequently, we are going to have a presentation of SAE G35 modeling, simulation, and training. This will be done by Marilyn Pearson, who is head of regulatory affairs at CAE. On day 2, in the main session, we are going to have a presentation by Mr. Michael McNair, who is VP of Aerospace SAE ITC on SAE ITC standardization activity. Subsequently, we are going to have a keynote address on role of standardization to improve efficiencies and quality by Dr. Ravi Rajamani, who is a fellow of SAE International. He is also visiting professor at Cranfield University, UK. Subsequently, we are going to have an overview of SAE International's US activities. This will be done by Dr. Mark D'Angelo, who is an aerospace engineer and pilot at SAE International. Subsequently, we are going to have overview of ANSYS standardization roadmap for US. This will be done by Ritesh, who is an aerospace engineer, US Integration Office at FAA. Subsequently, we are going to have a presentation from SAE International nominee, who is going to present on how to get involved in SAE aerospace standards development. Subsequently, we are going to have the 2 parallel sessions. In the first parallel session, we are going to have SAE 18, Aircraft and Systems Development and Safety Assessment Committee. This will be done by Bob Warris, Chair, SAE S18, Manager of Engineering Processes at Textron Aviation. Subsequently, we are going to have a presentation on SAE E39, Unmanned Aircraft Propulsion Committee. It will be done by Michael Cass, who is the chair of SAE E39 committee, is a senior research engineer at US Department of Energy. Subsequently, we are going to have a perspective from Indian standards. This will be done by a senior official from Indian Standards Development Agencies. In the parallel session 2, we are going to have three topics. The first one will be on the AMS AM additive manufacturing. This will be delivered by Mr. Bill, who is the president of Aerolatics. Then subsequently, we are going to have a presentation on AMS P17 Polymer Matrix Composites Committee. This will be done by Shannon Jones, who is the chair of AMS P17. He is also staff engineer at Bell Flight. Subsequently, we are going to have SAE G3 aerospace couplings, fittings, and tubing assemblies. This will be done by Joseph Bebe, who is the chair of SAE G3 committee, is a senior hydraulics engineer at Boeing. That is the overall agenda for those 2 days. Thank you for your wonderful time. It is great to interact with you today. Do visit us at SAE India website. We look forward for your presence on September 23rd and 24th. Thank you.
A big round of applause to Dr. Ravi Kumar. Thank you for giving us an overview about the Aero Standard Workshop, sir. Thank you. Just before, I actually forgot to ask about the question and answer session, which I missed for Dr. Omkar. So I would like to take the questions. Dr. Omkar, are you available now?
Yeah. Yes, please. Yes.
Yes. So the first question we have, it is actually from Dr. Ravi Kumar. How Indian standard organizations are collaborating with Indian standard organizations currently, and how this collaboration can be increased?
Well, not only that, actually, we from the BAS, we are studying all the standards like ISA, ISO, FAA, everything, because the whole idea is that we have to be internationally compatible. Therefore, interactions right now is quite good. In fact, we had a webinar just it's concluded yesterday where we had speakers from other organizations as well. Even they are also looking at interacting with BIS. So I think the collaborative efforts are quite good now. It is on the rise because all of us have realized that we cannot really work in isolation.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have the second question from Prashant. Can you highlight us couple of major differences between the commercial UAV and the defense UAV standards in India?
Boy, well, that is really two worlds apart. Because we are restricting ourselves only to the civil standards. Where they actually matter is in terms of the airspace management. When it comes to the air traffic management, yes, it has to be seen in unison. We have to integrate not only the civilian air traffic management, but also the military traffic management and also the UAV traffic management. Because these days, there are increasing incidents of UAVs disturbing the other manned aircraft. In fact, there are n number of hit and miss cases, and there are actual hits also being reported. So this is a very serious concern. Either some people, you cannot say whether out of ignorance or innocence they do it, but as far as the civilian aircrafts are concerned, whether out of ignorance you do or innocence you do, it cannot be pardoned. That is the big thing. So towards this, we have been looking at integrated air traffic management protocols, how this has to be done. Especially the UAVs can interfere during landing and takeoff. In fact, this has been a very serious concern in the country. With all the regulations, you cannot say you don't know because drones are such a cheap equipment. One can assemble and fly. It's very, very easy to make it happen. Therefore, how to standardize all these things right from the components, subcomponents, etc. There is a lot of deliberations going on. I'm sure it will take some time, but we are aware of this. And when it comes to the product per se, military, they have their own standards. In fact, we from the civilian side, we don't really interfere with the military standards. They are really world apart.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Omkar, thank you very much. I think the time is 6 o'clock, just the ending of the session one. I would like all the audience to give a big applause to Dr. Omkar and Dr. Ravi Kumar.
Thank you.
Anvesh, we do have questions for Dr. Ravi.
Yes, we do have questions for Dr. Ravi Kumar. Yeah, hello everyone. Can you please type the questions for Dr. Ravi Kumar?
Okay. Can you all hear me okay? I will take the question for Dr. Ravi.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Kutal.
As a BTech student or a fresher, how can one go to the aero industry as most companies take experienced candidates? What are the ways or procedures to be in this industry?
Yeah, excellent question from the student community. Definitely. So when you complete your graduation, you definitely look for some kind of industry exposure and experience. In fact, some of these events like SAE, when you interact with them, you will come to know the industry experience, what industry is doing currently, how you need to align or mold to the industry needs. Okay, so probably if you look at some of the events that we have organized, whether it is AeroCON or AeroCON or the current Aero standards, okay, the objective is towards that to create that kind of awareness in you on the industry needs so that you are very well equipped on what the industry is looking for, and you can align yourself accordingly. Okay? So that's the best way to do. And also connect with any of these aerospace leaders. Okay? You can have one-to-one discussions, one-to-one interactions with them. That will help you to understand. In fact, when we graduated, we did not have this kind of events or sessions organized in India. But now that we are very active, you will be able to get connected with most of these industry leaders, get the needs of the industry and align yourself. That's the best way to do. Okay, and try to grab any such opportunities that is available to you. Any other questions? Yeah, it's a pleasure and honor to interact with you. In fact, Aero Standards event is one of the most unique events that we are organizing. You have seen the agenda. A lot of these international SMEs are coming and presenting about their committees, and it is very, very helpful for each one of you to understand what they are doing currently, not only the new standards, but also the world standards, in the sense the world technology. Okay, so you will have a very good balanced view. In fact, this entire session has been planned based on the feedback that we have received from various Indian aerospace organizations. So make best use of it and see how best you can be part of this industry standards development activities. And now you have heard about Dr. Omkar. He is leading a lot of these Indian standards activities. So it will be a great collaboration for you to interact with leaders like him. And you can reach out to me any point of time. We can work together and make things better. If you are passionate, that is enough for us. That's it. Thank you. Thanks for that wonderful.
Thanks, Dr. Ravi, for opening your arms and looking for collaboration there. So actually there are lots of questions in the chat window. I am Satish Tokila for everybody. But in the interest of time, probably let me take two more questions, Dr. Ravi, right? But there are tons of questions coming in. So one question is about standardization. As standardization is the right future for most of the industries, right? What is the process that we can expect to bring in everybody under the same roof? This question is coming from Arun Kumar. Can you elaborate and share your thoughts on that, Dr. Ravi?
Yeah, no, this is a great point. Bringing everybody under one roof, it is a tough game because each industry has its own nuances. Of course, the best way to bring each one under roof is attending some of these conferences, events, and understand each other, what each and every person is doing. And that is the first way of interaction. Then the second one is each of these organizations, whether you call it ISO, call it ANSI, call it SAE International, or call it any other standards organization, they have published good number of documents already. And whenever they develop a new document or a new standard, there will be good amount of literature that will be reviewed, whether any such organization has done similar work, what is the learning that happens, and all that brainstorming happens, and the initial document is created, and it is revised continuously. In fact, each standard, if you look at it, the entire development process, almost it takes 1 year to, sometimes it goes to 3 to 4 years as well. I have seen some of the standards, they even took 5 years to bring their good shape. Okay, so that's the elaborate process. Okay, so in one way or the other, collaboration is the key. So we need to bring that collaboration spirit And also FAA International, if you look at one of the beauty of the FAA International is all the standards are developed based on consensus. So when you put a document for ballot, everybody in the committee has to approve it. Even if one single person does not approve it, then it has to go to another round of ballot. Okay, so that's how it happens, and that is important as well, because every SME is bringing a new perspective, and you need to make sure that that perspective is brought into the document, into the standard, and that document is released appropriately. And also, enhancement of the document is very, very important. Continuously, it has to be enhanced. So the documents are revised continuously on a need basis, and sometimes on a typical duration basis.
Thank you. Excellent, Dr. Ravi. So probably one last question. Actually, I was thinking to ask you this question related to the standards workshop that you just shared. Nowadays, any discussion is incomplete if we don't mention or talk about AI, right? So how do you see this, Dr. Ravi, at this point of time? Do you think aero defense and space industry, is it ready to to adopt AI? How do you see this evolving in our industry?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Satish. Again, if you look at entire artificial intelligence penetration in aerospace, it has a long roots. In fact, aerospace probably is one of those industries which has adopted AI, but it is mostly in the suggestive kind of thing. It is not a fully automated stuff. It is yet to come in a long way to go. In fact, there is a committee called G34 committee. It is AI in aviation. Okay, this committee is headed by Mark Roboff. He is going to present the activities that this particular committee is doing in terms of AI. They have recently published one document. That document talks about the concerns of AI adoption in aerospace. Okay, so if you want to make AI trustworthy, what are the things that typical design engineers or aerospace engineers looking at? Okay, what are the needs, and why a typical aerospace engineer will believe in the results provided by the AI? Okay, so those are the things that are there. So those are the things that that are being discussed, and the EASA has published one document. In fact, they have laid out a roadmap. Okay, so by 2035, they want to introduce AI as a mainstream activity. In one way or the other, it's more like pilotless aircraft that will be running in 2035. So that's what the status is. So they have put the detailed view how that need to be achieved and things like that. Yeah, essentially, to summarize, what I'm telling is there are a lot of efforts that are going on from the standard bodies and also the regulatory bodies, FAA, EASA. Everybody is working towards that. So probably by 2035 or 2040, that could be a reality.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi Kumar. I think the session went really good. I think the bunch of elements packed for the students for the upcoming workshop. I'm glad that I'll also be part of that. I wanted to attend that session. I hope the students take the best interest of this and attend the upcoming workshop, which Dr. Ravi Kumar is sharing for that. Thank you so much. And with that, now we shall take a 10-minute break and we'll be back to this in session 2. Okay, break timer is on. Can you please play the video during the break? SAE host.
Aerospace industry nurtured and matured many advanced technologies to drive performance, improve quality, reduce costs, and to realize sustainability. These include composites to artificial intelligence to deep space exploration. These advanced technologies matured into full-fledged industrial applications through standardization of processes, practices, and tools. Global standards play an important role in advancing mobility engineering across the world. Standardization ensures the safety, quality, and effectiveness of products and services across the mobility industry. It supports building the capability, competency, and capacity in the aerospace ecosystem. Many international organizations are actively developing and continuously enhancing the standards. SAE India's Aerospace Forum, in collaboration with SAE International, is conducting a premier international aerospace workshop, Aero Standards. The workshop aims to create awareness on global aerospace standardization activities of SAE International, SAE ITC, ANSI and other standards organizations. The workshop aims to provide opportunity to aerospace practitioners, professionals, academia, and students to contribute to various aerospace standards committees related to several aerospace technologies. It aids in the career development of aerospace professionals by involving them in global standards development. The workshop intends to integrate and connect Indian aerospace professionals with the global aerospace community through aerospace standards committees. This conference will be conducted in virtual mode, making it convenient for the aerospace community across the globe to participate. Meet the global leaders in aerospace and get their perspective on aerospace standards. Do you want to learn and contribute to aerospace standards development? Come and join us at Aero Standards on September 23rd and 24th, 2021. Aerospace industry nurtured and matured many advanced technologies to drive performance, improve quality, reduce costs, and to realize sustainability. These include composites to artificial intelligence to deep space exploration. These advanced technologies matured into full-fledged industrial applications through standardization of processes, practices, and tools. Global standards play an important role in advancing mobility engineering across the world. Standardization ensures the safety, quality, and effectiveness of products and services across the mobility industry. It supports building the capability, competency, and capacity in the aerospace ecosystem. Many international organizations are actively developing and continuously enhancing the standards. SAE India's Aerospace Forum, in collaboration with SAE International, is conducting a premier international aerospace workshop, Aero Standards. The workshop aims to create awareness on global aerospace standardization activities of SAE International, SAE ITC, ANSI and other standards organizations. The workshop aims to provide opportunity to aerospace practitioners, professionals, academia, and students to contribute to various aerospace standards committees related to several aerospace technologies. It aids in the career development of aerospace professionals by involving them in global standards development. The workshop intends to integrate and connect Indian aerospace professionals with the global aerospace community through aerospace standards committees. This conference will be conducted in virtual mode, making it convenient for the aerospace community across the globe to participate. Meet the global leaders in aerospace and get their perspective on aerospace standards. Do you want to learn and contribute to aerospace standards development? Come and join us at Aero Standards on September 23rd and 24th, 2021.
AeroCON is the flagship biennial premier international conference organized by SAE India Aerospace Forum and support.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, can start the video or
Yes. Can you see my screen?
yes.
Yes.
Hello again. Welcome
Yes,
back
sir.
to the second session. Now I would like to introduce Dr. Parimal Kopidekar. He currently serves as the Director of NASA Aeronautics Research Institute, NARI. In that capacity, he is responsible for exploring new trends, collaborations, and partnership needs related to aviation enterprise. He also serves as NASA Senior Technologist for Air Transport Systems and Principal Investigator for Unmanned Aircraft System Traffic Management Project. He's the recipient of many awards, including NASA Government Invention of the Year, Exceptional Technology Achievement Medal, Outstanding Leadership Award, Engineer of the Year, and Samuel Heyman Service to American Promising Innovation Award. PK was named among 25 most influential people in the drone industry. He is the co-editor-in-chief of Journal of Aerospace Operations and fellow of American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. He also serves as an adjunct faculty and teaches undergraduate and graduate courses related to operation management and supply chain management. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Parimal for his keynote address. Over to you, Dr. Parimal.
Oh, thank you. Hopefully you can see my screen here and you see.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah, I'm pleased to be here. Thank you for inviting me for this event and looking forward to the event in September as well. Today I'm going to talk about advanced air mobility. And before I start, I will basically give you an idea how NASA is set up and its relationship with the FAA. So NASA does research on many aspects of aeronautics, fundamental aircraft design, the subsystems, the technologies, integration of them and testing, flight testing and such. Airspace operations and safety, and FAA is our regulatory as well as operational body for aviation management. And we have a very tight relationship with that, and particularly with the US office and the next gen, where some of the concepts that are developed at NASA, tested and found to be beneficial and useful are then adopted by FAA. If we look at the advanced air mobility, by the way, we used to call first urban air mobility, and then we expanded the scope to advanced air mobility to include non-urban operations. So advanced air mobility, we have critical commitment of basically delivering aircraft airspace infrastructure and system architecture requirements. So collectively, we want to make sure that we are addressing aircraft, airspace, and infrastructure, all three aspects simultaneously. Because if one subsystem is ready, for example, aircraft are ready, but airspace system is not, or infrastructure is not ready, then the whole system will not sustain and scale. So that's the idea. By 2030-ish, we want to get to the point of having this integrated perspective and requirements that will enable major activities through national campaign, which is the flight testing series, workshops, and partnerships with industry as well as academia, as well as FAA and other government organizations, and then through various aspects of the foundational research that we do inside that. So again, there are three aspects.
Hello, Dr. Parimal. Apologies for stopping you. Can you please put in a slideshow mode? We are just seeing a very little bit of the screen.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, no problem. I can do that.
Thank you. Apologies for interrupting.
Yeah, sure. I put it in the reading mode. Sometimes it works, but it looks like it doesn't here. No problem. How about now? What
Now
can you see in the slideshow mode?
we are seeing the slideshow, both the slides, left and the right. So
Oh,
probably
really?
I think
Okay. Well,
we have to share the another screen.
How about this? Is this
Yes,
better?
now it's better. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so on the aircraft side, then we focus on one critical aspect, which is the noise. We want to make sure that the noise standard is available and the aircraft design is such that it will produce low noise. So idea is to have this distributed propulsion system that will be very safe as well as produce low noise. So the vehicle development is focused on that. And in the future, we'll also worry about autonomous operations and autonomous capabilities. And this is where we work very closely with FAA's US office. And then on the vehicle maintenance and management side is how do you actually share the aircraft and its space with other aircraft in the vicinity so that they will stay away from each other, but at the same time, we will be able to use the airspace resource very effectively. So we have about 18 companies that we are working with, generally 100-mile plus range. They fly about 5,000-ish, a couple of hundred knots, sort of the speed for passenger carrying. This is just an information that shows you a typical configuration. Most of them have vanes that will use forward flight for efficiency. Here are a number of examples of the companies that we are working with. So it ranges from different types of design. One of them is even looking at hydrogen, and others are looking at electric power. On the airspace side, we focus on making sure that the multi-vehicle operations, as well as the current manned aviation operations, are going to be safe, efficient, to ensure the overall safety and scalability. So fundamentally here, the idea is to not overload the air traffic control system. So how do we put together systems in place and protocols and collaboration with other aircraft operators through electronic means to ensure that we are not overloading the air traffic control system. And on the fleet management, we look at how best the fleet of that particular operator could be managed and multiple vehicles and multiple operators operating simultaneously. So I'll just focus a little bit on the airspace side, which is basically making sure that the scaling happens without burdening the current air traffic management system. And as you can imagine, that if we cannot do that, then it will limit the number of vehicles that are allowed in the airspace. So we want to ensure that the operators can scale these vehicles without burdening the ATM system. So then the question is, how do we do that? Because currently every clearance, every change has to be coordinated and communicated through a traffic control system. So what we have learned is we can, and we have demonstrated that through unmanned aircraft system traffic management, UTM, where we have digital enterprise, we coordinate digitally with other aircraft operators about the intent, and we stay away from each other. So those lessons we can take forward in scaling these operations. Here is one quick example of basically creating corridors. So we're not 100% sure that corridors is the only way to do it, but this is just one example. If we have corridors and those corridors have performance-based operations, so based on their ability to, let's say, manage separation or ability to tightly make some turn and descents and climbs and such. So if you have certain types of performance, then you can create a corridor and say everybody that can meet certain type of performance can operate in that. And then you can see how they can go up and down if they need to land or take off and then join the corridor again. That's just one example of how the airspace structure procedure may evolve. This is just another example inside that corridor. There could be tracks, and some would be focused on advanced air mobility, urban air mobility. Others would be basically advanced air mobility or conventional aircraft. And you can see the surroundings that's happening. So that's another example of how the structure may evolve. But fundamentally, we are going towards unmanned aircraft system traffic management type of construct. And what it is it's maintains the FAA's regulatory authority, but at the same time, we will be able to take advantage of the services such as flight planning, tracking, communication provided by third parties. And I believe India is also implementing the UTM now. Here is one example of the architecture that we put together for UTM. Now, this is a little bit complex architecture, but main idea here is there is provider of UAM services. So these services, as I mentioned, could be tracking, flight planning, and communication, navigation, giving them a route clear, basically efficient routes and such. So then you have the unmanned aircraft system service supplier, which is just focused on the drones. The UAM and AAM service providers are focused on those type of vehicles, and they could interact because you could have drones and these urban air mobility vehicles operating in the same vicinity of 400 feet when they climb up and down. So there could be that interaction, and then there is a FAA exchange protocols that we send in information to the FAA systems, and there could be some other data providers on the right side as shown here. These could be the 3D maps and weather and any other data. So all of that could couple into an architecture that will send information real time through data, digital data instead of voice. And that will allow us to scale these operations. This is just an original example of the architecture that started this whole idea of basically service orientation, service-oriented architecture, bringing in third parties. And so this is just a blow up of that shows basically that FAA will give you any constraints or directives, such as, there is a wildfire or forest fire going on, you can't go over that, or this president is in town, that area is blocked for security reasons. But anything else, you can basically follow along as soon as you know the constraints. So the goal is to change the model from what happens today, which is management by clearance to management by exception. So instead of telling you what to do and approve every step of the clearance, change in flight plan, which is altitude or speed, here we said, you are not allowed to do the XYZ thing. So few things, and then you can just follow along. So instead of getting a clearance for every step, you can just say, tell me what not to do, tell me where not to go, and then I can find my own path. So that's one way to look at that. Now, community integration is also very important. This is where a lot of standards work will also hit. So in the past slide that I showed air traffic management airspace, so this integration and what information gets exchanged and the format and all that would require some standards. Here we would require standards for basically noise and any ability to accept these systems. So those are important. Then taking off in the urban airspace and landing is going to be pretty interesting problem, particularly if you have high-rise buildings like Mumbai and Delhi and maybe Bangalore and other places. How do you actually make sure that these vehicles can go in and out of those without hindering and impacting safety, as well as making sure that they have the GPS support and communication support. So, but fundamentally, this is going to be for everything. So as we expanded the urban mobility to advanced air mobility, it will be the urban environment as well as the outside environment. The weather conditions and managing the weather into that and predicting the weather at these low altitudes is also going to be very critical. Now, McKinsey did a study to figure out what are the willingness to adopt these services. And I bring that up because it's very interesting to understand how much there is interest and possibilities and willingness. But it also shows that if we have less interested people, then we have work cut out to figure out what kind of data is needed to convince people that this is useful. So you can just see India has 47% folks that they will definitely switch to this, and 47 for commuting to going to the airport, 42%, and all these other use cases, leisure, short distance, and long distance are in between. So India definitely has some pretty good progressive promising at least the user base services based responses. So there is opportunity to figure out how these services and these kind of operations could play in India. Now, on top of that, there's a cross-cutting effort related to the safety, autonomy for scaling these operations and making sure that they are secure in terms of cyber perspectives. So what we do from NASA side, and we collaborate very heavily with FAA as US office as well as NextGen and traffic. How do we actually test these concepts? So this is why we have a national campaign. We have concept of operations to level 4. We will talk about the levels in a minute. And then system architecture and requirements. And we're using model-based system engineering for that. So here are our levels. So this is focused on urban aspects. So urban air mobility, UML. So one of the things, as I mentioned, we have to consider aircraft, airspace, and operations all simultaneously, and low density to high density. So these are like, this could be where we could create a standard or a guideline, but fundamentally we want to define what different levels are going all the way to the highly complex, high-density operations, and what are the stepping stones to that. So what we call urban air mobility maturity levels, UML. So starts from low density, less complex environment, medium density, and then ubiquitous operations. And all of them require some maturity on the airspace technologies as well as aircraft and operations. Now I'll switch to some other foundational aspects. So one of the foundational aspects of this that I didn't mention in the aircraft, airspace, and community is the supply chain. So how do you manufacture these? If you look at cars, there are 79 million cars produced every year, roughly. And these vehicles, aircraft, if you look at Boeing and Airbus, they each make 800 aircraft a year. So if we want to make a difference by advanced air mobility into traffic or any type of a serious relevant commuting platform, then we need to have significantly more vehicle production capabilities. And that requires you to have a substantial supply chain, one that will have access to the suppliers in the early stages of design before the production certification is issued. Then the resiliency, which is once you have production certification, you go beyond basically few handful of aircraft manufacturing need to maybe hundreds to thousands. At that point, you want to have resiliency, so you have more than one type of supplier of each kind, and then scalability, which is where high production rate is required, and that not only you want access to the supply, you want the resiliency, so more than one type, as well as how can we scale these, and then the part of that is the maintenance aspects, because These vehicles will be operating at the local, regional level, and you need to have maintenance facilities as well as workforce ready to fix them. And you need to have parts inventory at the local level as well. So we're building a B2X platform, business to basically business, not just B2B, but one to many basically, or many to many is the best way to look at it. That will allow new suppliers to join in. Right now, we feel that the supply capacity is limited as there are a number of types of operators as well as vehicles, aircraft that are being manufactured. The small drones in millions to this electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles to conventional manned aviation to helicopters and eventually supersonic and hypersonic. That would all of them require a substantive supply chain. And I would just focus on advanced air mobility. You would need a significant supply chain all the way to the maintenance from design through the entire life cycle. So that platform will allow you to bring more basically small, medium, and large enterprises into the aviation. On top of that, we need a digital supply network that will connect all of them, system of tiers all the way to the raw materials so that you can continuously maintain awareness of what's happening with the supply capacity and such, as well as the forecast that can be communicated. You can track resiliency risks and such. And the last item in that is the modeling simulation. So you can actually analyze any gaps or resiliency needs or cycle time considerations. 5 years from now, what will be our need? I'll just give you an example. If everybody's using cobalt, then may not be enough cobalt. So maybe you want to identify, okay, if I am going to have trouble on cobalt, maybe we should start looking at different material for high temperature. How do I do that? Curriculum and workforce is also important. We need to make sure that we have future workforce, and I think training these workforce is highly important. So we need more aero engineers, technicians, and entrepreneurs to come into the field. It's really growing field now, and it's seen as second basically wave. Some people call it third wave after jet engine, but this is really exciting time to join the aeronautics and aviation kind of profession. And this is my last slide. I think we need to continue to innovate how we can build new platforms that are safe, and how we can scale these operations in the air traffic, and while maintaining basically the push towards innovation. So we want to innovate in aviation. At the same time, we have to make sure that we respect and follow the safety tradition of aviation. So now, looking forward to collaborating with everyone and figuring out what kind of new ideas will come together, where we need standards, where we need research, where we need flight testing, many aspects that can be done here. So it's a very interesting time in the history of aviation, and it's really exciting to see what we are going to be able to do if we can reach every community, every zip code by aviation, either by drone or advanced air mobility vehicles or such. It's going to change the way we live and transport in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parimal. That was a wonderful session which we had, quite informative, and how the innovation has to respect the safety tradition. It's really impressive in the way. And
Yeah,
I would like to call Satish for taking the Q&A session. Over to you, Satish.
yeah, thank you once again, Dr. PK. There are a couple of questions in the chat window, and I'll read out these questions for you. Dr. PK, can you talk about what kind of technologies, that are involved, in developing UAM systems, or, are related to, developing UAM corridors or tracks or routes, right? So what kind of technologies would really help driving this?
Yes, sure. So on the aircraft side is the electric propulsion, and particularly distributed electric propulsion. That is the main technology that changes. Now, if you see helicopters, they have a big rotor and on using basically gas. And now we're moving towards electric propulsion that is much quieter, and by having it distributed, it's much safer. So, in example, if bird strike happens, you don't destroy the whole thing. One of the basically motors fail, but then others can continue to work. So that's an example on the aircraft side, but that would require standards, say what kind of noise is acceptable in the community. So as we are giving omnipresent aviation, we need to make sure that it is not going to be a nuisance to everyone. So that's that link of the technology and standard. And then on the aircraft side, airspace operations side, main technologies are this provider of services for UAM. So how do we actually build this architecture in such that there is a role for third-party services and what services are offered in terms of um, flight planning and such. So that's the architectural view, and the subcomponent side, whether we need detect and avoid, whether we need autonomous aircraft capability, that's another interesting aspect. So there's sensing and perception and algorithms, technologies for detecting and avoiding each other, as well as the vertiport. We would need autonomous landing and takeoff capabilities and integration with the rest of the airspace operations so that we can safely manage. So you can imagine if aircraft is flying, it has a bird strike, and you need to be able to land immediately. So information must be integrated and shared with that vehicle operator or the pilot on board, saying that, hey, here's the nearest vertiport where you can go and safely land. There's less weather problem there, and you have space for landing. So a lot of information integration technologies are also needed to make sure that the real-time decisions can be made about safety of those operations during flight. Just another example.
Thank you, Dr. PK. So one follow-up question on your slides, you talked about autonomy, and just now, you have, you brought in autonomy into this, into the picture here. Air traffic, is much more regulated than road traffic, right? So how do you see, especially when we're talking about urban air mobility kind of applications, how do you see, autonomy would simplify, some load on the pilot? So any thoughts on that, Dr. PK?
Yeah, there's certainly research going on in that area. So fundamentally, the question is, do we go towards autonomous operations, or do we go towards start with piloted operations? And some companies are doing that. Some companies are starting with the piloted operations. Some companies are optionally piloted and then move towards autonomous capabilities. Now, going towards autonomous capabilities is going to be interesting because it would require operation in a mixed equipment. I mean, I always use this slide, and this is something that is very vivid in my mind. If you go to any road in India, I grew up in various parts of Maharashtra, so Mumbai, Ratnagiri, and those places, Pune. And you have this vivid picture. You have truck, and you have car, and you have rickshaw, you have cyclist, motorcyclist, and there's a cow that shows up on the road, right? And when the cow shows up, everybody else has the intent because they're going straight on the road, but the cow doesn't share the intent. It's just going to sit on the road or do something else. And when that happens, this is the classic mixed equipage problem where everything then just gets sort of slowed down, and you don't know what to do. You lose some capacity. So that's the sort of the interesting problem that we have to address. If you have some vehicles that are autonomous and others are not, how do you mix them together? Particularly problem when there is a emergency or off-nominal condition to that autonomous aircraft, and then that needs to be basically taken care right away in terms of they need to land, or the other aircraft that is manned aircraft that has emergency, but it will interact with autonomous aircraft. So I think the proof of the pudding is figuring out how to actually accommodate them in the same airspace at the same time. If it's a mixed equipage, that is where a lot of research needs to be done to figuring out how do we make sure that the entire aerospace operations will still maintain its efficiency and safety. Individual aircraft, we still have to develop the systems and subsystems and component, but then collection of them with these variations in their performance as well as is a very interesting problem. What happens if you lose communication to that autonomous aircraft? What do you do about that? You know, as an example. So lots of interesting research can be done to figure out how do we accommodate these.
Thank you. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Dr. PK. Let's take one more question. Do we have some kind of this question is coming from Prashant. So do we have some standards either for environmental, or EMI related aspects, when we are talking about these systems?
Yeah, I mean, Ritesh knows the standards by heart, of course, so he can tell you but he did post here one of them, the SAE 5-18A. There is also G31 committee is looking at machine learning and artificial intelligence and autonomy related standards. But the S18A and the EuroK has a standard on the autonomy. So there are a number of efforts going on in that direction, and I highly recommend you join them. But I think it's also important to make sure that the standards are weighted through research. So for those who are doing research, they have a play to show their contributions, and then those research products can influence the standards.
Thanks, Dr. PK.
Ritesh also says here that there is a new EMI committee. So the number of committees, I think, I would say you can ask Ritesh. He has a laundry list of different committees and standards that one can participate and help. So,
sure. Thank you, Dr. PK. Anvesh, over to you.
Thank you, Satish. Now I would like to introduce Dr. Ramakrishna Raman. Let me share my screen. Dr. Ramakrishna Raman, the Principal Systems Engineer from Honeywell. He is the Director for Asia Oceania. He's a Senior Member, Chair for IEEE Bangalore session for the systems. He's a certified Six Sigma belt and is I know certified expert systems engineering professionals. He has an extensive systems and software knowledge experience in building and industrial automation and aerospace domains. He contributed to various international conferences and journals of the complex system, architectural design, and artificial intelligence machine learning. He's active in the professional societies, including IEEE, INOS, and SAE. He has received many organizational awards, including 2010 Honeywell Technology Solutions, an annual Leadership Excellence Award. In the year 2016, he has received the Outstanding Service Award from the International Council on Systems Engineering at Edinburgh, Scotland. He has also been the Technical Program Chair for the international conferences, including 2016 and 2019 at Asia Oceania Systems Engineering Conference and the 31st INCOS International Symposium. He actively interacts with various academic institutions and is currently the guest faculty at IIT Bombay Aerospace Department and adjunct faculty at the Department of Instrumentation and Control Engineering at Manipal Institute of Technology. Dr. Ramakrishna Raman received BTech and MTech degrees from IIT Madras and PhD from IIIT Bangalore. Now I'd like to welcome Dr. Ramakrishnan. Over to you, Dr. Ramakrishnan.
Thank you, Anvesh, for a kind introduction. So I will just share my desktop through.
Yes, please. We can hear you loud and clear.
Hope my desktop is visible.
Yes, it is visible. Thank you.
So thank you, Anvesh, and I'm really excited to announce more on SA India Aerospace Forum's flagship biennial premier international aerospace conference through. So this premium international aerospace conference is planned to be held in Bangalore, India on 2nd and 3rd June 2022. We are happy to announce that this conference is supported by SAE International. We envision AeroCON 2022 to provide the much needed platform in India for industry practitioners, academicians, students, and researchers to participate and exchange ideas, information, share their research findings and experiences in aerospace engineering. Technology has always been on the forefront for aerospace industry. This industry has incubated, nurtured, and matured many advanced technologies in line with the latest technologies in the forefront. So the theme of this conference that the committee has chosen is Autonomous Airborne Systems, Trends, Challenges, and Opportunities. We are sure that this is an exciting theme and has a lot of interest in the aerospace community. We have identified specific topics of special interest and general interest. The topics of special interest are areas that have a direct bearing on the cutting-edge aerospace technologies in alignment with the theme of the conference around autonomous systems. Accordingly, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, digital twins, electric mobility, robotics, hybrid wing body designs, and Industry 4.0 have all been identified as the topics of special interest. We are confident that these special topics span the gamut of cutting-edge technologies that we are all looking forward to achieve breakthrough in aerospace. And of course, we also have a range of topics of general interest and emphasis areas, spanning from actuation systems, navigation guidance, to integrated vehicle health management and manufacturing special processes, and not just limited to these areas. We are looking forward for contributions on all of these topics in addition to the theme of the conference. There are multiple sectors and domains which the conference is envisioned to span: aircraft, rotorcraft, urban air mobility, airborne defense systems, space systems, and aircraft maintenance. We plan to reach the broad aerospace engineering community across all these sectors and domains through this conference. We are inviting submissions from all industry practitioners, academicians, researchers, and students for this premium international conference. To re-emphasize, submissions can pertain to one or more of these special topics, general topics indicated earlier, across the sectors and domains. Now, there are two types of submissions that the conference invites through. One is called the papers, and the next are the presentations. So we'll spend time to look at what these two types of submissions are. First, coming to paper submissions. So authors are invited to submit original papers. Papers are subjected to the formal peer review processes. First, an abstract needs to be submitted, and post notification of abstract acceptance, we need to submit the full-length manuscript. After the peer reviews, acceptance notifications will be sent by the conference committee. It is important to note that at least one author of an accepted paper must register for the conference and make an oral presentation of the accepted paper in the conference. The accepted papers will be submitted to SAE International for publication in SAE Mobilis, and the publications are indexed on Scopus and Engineering Village, EI Compendex, and IET Inspec. The key point to note is that the length of the paper should be between 6 to 10 pages. Papers that are not in this length limits, or papers that have already been published or submitted elsewhere for publications, or plagiarized papers, all of these will be rejected without further review. We are inviting both academic and practice-oriented papers. Academic papers, for instance, can cover theory or theory validation, whereas practice-oriented papers can include the problem space and also the approach to the implementation. In this conference, we are not...
Ramki, can you please share the screen? I think it somehow disappeared. Apologies for interrupting.
I'm able to see it.
No, we
are able to see it.
it.
Please go ahead.
You're on slide number 7, what we see.
Sure. So literature review papers are not considered. So please do refer to the conference website for detailed guidelines and templates for abstract and the full-length paper submissions. So that's about the papers. The second type of submissions we are looking at are called presentations or oral-only presentations. This category is primarily for authors to share their work without the need to write and submit a formal written paper. Presentations are not subjected to formal peer review processes as in papers through. Neither are they included in the conference proceedings. Authors first need to submit an abstract and after shortlisting submit a presentation deck, for instance, a PPT file. The presentations are reviewed by the conference technical committee and they are shortlisted for acceptance. It's again important to know that authors of accepted presentations must register for the conference for the presentation to be included in the conference program. So we have seen both the type of submissions that the conference is interested in, the papers and presentations. The registration fees for the Indian authors is rupees 3,000 and for international authors is USD 100. The deadlines are as illustrated in the slide. For papers, please do plan to submit abstracts before 15th September. Abstract notification will be by 30th September. However, please note that you can actually submit abstracts early. You don't need to wait for 15th September, the deadline. So if you submit early, you can actually get notified early, and then you can begin working on the full-length paper through. The full-length paper is due by 15th November, and the acceptance notification will be by 15th January of next year. The final camera-ready submissions is due by 15th February. Please note that at least one author should register by the deadline of 15th February for the paper to be included in the conference proceedings. We also have a similar set of deadlines as indicated for presentations. So again, please do submit your abstracts early for this conference. So looking forward to your submissions and to your active participation. Please visit the conference website at www.saindia.org/AeroCon 2022 to know more about the conference. Please do indicate to all your contacts, submit your papers and presentations for this conference. And this is a really good opportunity for all of us to network with our peers and experts in the aerospace engineering community and for us to be in the forefront of aerospace technologies. So with that, I'm glad to call for submissions for this conference and looking forward to your active participation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramki, for giving us an overview about the upcoming AeroCon 2022. And I think the students are excited to participate in that for the paper submission. Now I would like to call Satish for taking the Q&A session. Over to you, Satish.
Sure. Thanks, Anvesh. Thank you once again, Dr. Ramki. There are a few questions in the chat window. So for AeroCon, this question is coming from Prashant Dubey. I have selected the topic blockchain for the paper submission. So do I need to prepare my paper for this topic or do I need to go by theme of the conference?
Sure. That's a good question. So the theme is definitely a focus area, but we are accepting papers across all of the topics indicated. So if you look at the topics, so there is a separate choice for autonomous airborne systems. There is a different choice for blockchain. So for instance, you might have a paper around blockchain for supply chain or logistics for aerospace industry, right? So please do feel free to choose whatever the appropriate topic is of interest to you. And do not worry if it maps to more than one topic, right? Please do choose just one of them. The conference committee would later take a decision on which specific track the paper belongs to. So we encourage submissions across all of those sector domains, across all of those topics. Hope that answered the question.
Yes, Dr. Ramki, that's very clear, crystal clear answer. Thank you so much. So one more general question, Dr. Ramki, a question is coming from Kiran. For the people, students who would like to participate and submit, papers for this conference, to learn more about UAV technology, are there any set of resources or, some kind of literature, that you would guide them to go through? Any suggestions on that front?
Sure. I think the previous session itself, it covered a lot on the UAVs and things like that, and there are a lot of SAE standards that are accessible, which provide a lot of information on so many challenges that the industry and the community, academic community, is researching on pertaining to UAVs and drones through. So would encourage all the students to go through those. I think some of them you can find in the chat window too. It has been suggested. Please do make yourself familiar with the topic where you plan to write your paper, and see where your unique contribution can be there, because we do stress on a unique differentiated contribution for each of the paper through, as opposed to just a literature survey or an overview. So please do reach out to all the material that's available in SAE. And also there is a lot of publications and presentations in SAE Mobilis platform through. So please do leverage that to know more about the topics.
Thank you, Dr. Ramki. Thank you for the detailed explanation on that. I think those are the questions from the chat, right? Thank you once again, Dr. Ramki.
Thank you.
Anvesh, over to you for the next steps.
Okay, thank you, Satish, for conducting the Q&A session. Now I'd like to introduce Krupal. Krupal is engineering leader at Boeing India, where he is responsible for driving engineering excellence and ensuring the technical integrity and success of development and the production programs. He previously served as the senior manager of Boeing Test and Evaluation in India. He was responsible for growing BT&E India operations. Prior to Boeing, Krupal was with Yaton Corporation and Bharat Dynamics Limited for more than 18 years combined. He successfully developed products like missile simulators, missile launchers, and test equipment for Indian Defence Forces. Now I would like to welcome Krupal for the vote of thanks. Over to you, Krupal.
Ilungu sir, before Krupal speak, can you just play the AeroCON video? Ilungu sir? Yeah. Sir, we couldn't able to hear audio. Ilungu sir?
AeroCON is the flagship biennial premier international conference organized by SAE India Aerospace Forum and supported by SAE International. AeroCON 2022 is planned to be held in Bangalore, India on 2nd and 3rd of June, 2022. Technology has always been on the forefront for aerospace industry. It incubated, nurtured and matured many advanced technologies, from composites to advanced sensors to integrated vehicle health management. While globally the aerospace and defense industry has been rapidly advancing with new technologies and artificial intelligence, the Indian government is also actively promoting indigenization with cutting-edge technologies by manufacturing them in the country under Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat initiatives. AeroCON 2022 will provide the much-needed platform in India for industry practitioners, academicians, researchers and students to actively exchange ideas, information and opinions, share their research findings and experiences in aerospace engineering. The theme of the conference is Autonomous Airborne Systems, Trends, Challenges, and Opportunities. Various special topics of interest have been identified for this conference, including blended hybrid wing body designs, electric mobility, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and digital twins, being at the cutting edge of groundbreaking aerospace technologies. The conference program is planned to have many plenary sessions from international experts, paper presentations, panel discussions and tutorials, spanning the aviation, space systems, aeronautics, airborne defense systems, unmanned aerial systems and urban air mobility. visit the conference website at www.saindia.org/AeroCon 2022 to know more it. Submit your papers and presentations for this conference, network with your peers and experts in the aerospace engineering community, and be in the forefront of aerospace technologies. AeroCON is.
Thank you so much for the video. That was an excellent video. Now I would like to call Krupal. We welcome you. Over to you.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, now audio is okay. Audio check.
Just let me share my screen. Hey, good evening all. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we are able to see the screen.
Good evening all. I feel honored and privileged to have the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks for this special event. This is an exciting day. Today we hosted and launched the curtain raiser for Aero Standards Workshop and AeroCON 2022 with enthusiastic participation of over 200 delegates from academia and industry. On behalf of SAE India Aerospace Forum, I convey my regards and hearty thanks to our chair, Ravi Shankar Mysore, for his invocation and context setting for the event. I also like to thank our honorable guest, Dr. S.N. Omkar, for sharing great insights into standardization of UAV subsystems at India. And his topic on standing on standards is a solution really was great. He touched upon a couple of key elements, importance of standards and its benefits, how creativity, discipline, and intelligence is important, the multi-dimensions of UAS standardization. He talked about the importance of communication, air traffic management, UFE traffic management, and last but not the least, the digital twins. And the interesting topic on body on chip for medical industry was very interesting. I'm sure all of us are inspired by his great words. I would like to thank Dr. Ravi Kumar for providing overview of Aero Standards Workshop. I'm confident that this workshop will aid in career development of aerospace professionals by involving them in global standards development. This workshop will be conduit to integrate and connect Indian aerospace professionals with the global aerospace community through various aerospace standards committees. Special thanks to Dr. Parimal or Dr. PK for taking time during his early morning at US to cover the topic on unmanned aerial systems, advanced air mobility and supply chain. The way he explained the topic was very simple, succinct. The key elements what I could take was on how the vehicle development and the autonomous operations, UAM corridors, tracks and routes. He also talked about the urban airspace management and the supply chain readiness. Thank you, sir, for a wonderful and stimulating session. I would like to thank Dr. Ramakrishnan Raman for sharing an overview of AeroCON 22 with the theme of autonomous airborne systems, trends, challenges, and opportunities. AeroCON 2022 will provide the much needed platform in India for industry practitioners, academicians, researchers, and students to actively exchange ideas, information, and opinions. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated Aero Forum members. All of you, please accept our heartfelt gratitude for your exceptional support and guidance. A big shout out to Dr. Dinesh, Dr. Ganga Reddy, Vinay Roy, Satish Tokala, who have been instrumental in organizing this curtain raiser event. I look forward to continued support and direction of all aerospace forum members for these prestigious events which are going to be hosted in the coming days. I would like to express our earnest appreciation to SAE India office team for tremendous support in successful organization of this event and laying a strong foundation for Aero Standards Workshop and AeroCON 2022. Kudos to Hassan, Ilango, Aisha, and all SAE India staff. You were key in successful and smooth conduct of this whole event. Last but not the least, I want to say a big thank you to our MC of the day, Anvesh. You have managed the whole event well. Thank you for your excellent support, Anvesh. And thank you all participants and delegates for making this event successful. We look forward to hosting you all during our Aero Standards workshop as well as AeroCON 2022. While the event concludes here, keep a tab on SAE India website as well as the AeroCON and Aero Standards websites and social media channels for latest on these events. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Gopal.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Aerospace industry nurtured and matured many advanced technologies to drive performance,
Please, all
improve
Aero Forum
quality,
members, please
reduce
stay back.
costs, and to realize sustainability. These include composites to artificial intelligence to deep space exploration. These advanced technologies matured into full-fledged industrial applications through standardization of processes, practices, and tools. Global standards play an important role in advancing mobility engineering across the world. Standardization ensures the safety, quality, and effectiveness of products and services across the mobility industry. It supports building the capability, competency, and capacity in the aerospace ecosystem. Many international organizations are actively developing and continuously enhancing the standards. SAE India's Aerospace Forum, in collaboration with SAE International, is conducting a premier international aerospace workshop, Aero Standards. The workshop aims to create awareness on global aerospace standardization activities of SAE International, SAE ITC, ANSI and other standards organizations. The workshop aims to provide opportunity to aerospace practitioners, professionals, academia, and students to contribute to various aerospace standards committees related to several aerospace technologies. It aids in the career development of aerospace professionals by involving them in global standards development. The workshop intends to integrate and connect Indian aerospace professionals with the global aerospace community through aerospace standards committees. This conference will be conducted in virtual mode, making it convenient for the aerospace community across the globe to participate. Meet the global leaders in aerospace and get their perspective on aerospace standards. Do you want to learn and contribute to aerospace standards development? Come and join us at Aero Standards on September 23rd and 24th, 2021.